really busy week this week. Let's have a look at a huge networking as a service company, a Star Wars themed securing open sourced player, and a new relational database, plus a massive 2.3 billion debt financing round, an Aussie cybersecurity company, and 3 more others. To top it off, 8 companies, a very busy week, as I said. Let's get into it. So the first company today is a company called Nile. I hadn't heard of these guys before, but I'm surprised I hadn't. $175 million in a Series C, and this is an all-star cast of like the who's who from the networking world. This company is led by Pankaj Patel, who is the ex-VP of Cisco's engineering, or like the chief development officer, basically reporting to the CEO, responsible for all of Cisco's networking infrastructure over a period of about 3 or 4 years. On the board is none other than John Chambers, who was at Cisco for around 22 years, I think 20 as their CEO, massive pedigree there. The rest of the team are also all-star players. That's why this company's received a huge round. Let's have a look at their value prop. So Nile are a network as a service company. I want to explore this a little bit more because there's some elements of network as a service that I don't quite understand. It's not a cloudy kind of area. They're talking about significantly reducing the complexity of the network environment. We all know how complex networking is and how sort of deep the skill sets you need are to really, deploy a highly redundant, available network in the enterprise. Nile are talking about the simplification of the network, simplification of the security of the network, and also simplification of the commercials around your network, which is interesting because networking, in the sense that they're talking about it, is physical things as well, right? So they go on a bit of an educational route here. They're having to educate what is network as a service, probably because of the same questions I've just asked. So talking about higher network performance, secure connectivity, flexible scalability, which I'm assuming is kind of like the commercials of the whole thing, but also end-to-end network lifecycle management, because as I said, we're talking about physical objects here as well. So they're going to be taking that into account. Don't know how they would handle all that. So this is using a technique of sort of positioning their value proposition around, they're putting forward the question, what are the critical criteria for NAS? What are the technical requirements for NAS? Why now for NAS? Lo and behold, Nile does it all. So if you look at their value proposition and then who they're sort of going after, it's really clear there's some early customers that they're trying to win. In the education sector, complex networks, really sort of sprawled environments, a combination of sort of core infrastructure plus wireless. Then they're also going for the all-inclusive NAS for every business, but I don't know how this would work. It's an interesting company because their value proposition is really, from the looks of things, really at like, they have a value proposition around office and the physical location because they've got this wireless, significant wireless component to it. But what about the whole work from home type of situation? Maybe they're going for things like shopping centers and areas like this, or airports as well. But I don't understand how corporates, the value proposition around corporates would be as strong here. I wasn't expecting to this be sort of like a hot area of investment at the moment, considering AI and security are sort of booming. I know networks are complex and it's a thing that has been challenging for a long time. I just thought that was down the priority list of sort of funding because, people are working from home far more than what they were. There's talk about trying to get people back, but we'll see if that happens. Okay, so what I'm trying to understand, and the question that's been bugging me is like, do you get a whole bunch of networking equipment, like you sort of design your network and then they send it all to you, but you don't have to pay for that? Like, when do you pay for network as a service? Plan, procure, install, monitor, troubleshoot, lifecycle. Site surveying, I think, automated bill of materials with procurement. It still doesn't explain it really clearly. So they do all the hardware refreshes and their engineers come in and do it, or our engineers. It says engineers are automatically notified us. So it'll be interesting to see where this one goes. There's not too often you find a new network player appearing. So, I expect to hear more, or they'll get acquired by someone. Next company today is a company called Endor Labs, who received $70 million in a Series A. This is all around the problem between engineering, productivity, getting the most out of your engineers, but also allowing them to use open source, which is extremely common, in a secure way. This chimes into a theme that I've been seeing recently, which is a bit around this supply chain security area. A lot of companies are starting to look at where you source your software from, what's the security around that software. I must say, I love the Star Wars theme. They've really gone all out here. So jumping into the website, first thing I look at is the product, right? And I immediately notice this DroidGPT because it's AI, right? So let's have a look through here. So it's all around asking natural language questions. I must say, this is a really informative website for, if I'm a buyer, I'm looking at this is giving me everything I need. It's talking through, it's got a video I could watch. It's got some screenshots talking about kind of like, this is like a live demo. Show me 3 packages with known vulnerabilities. Okay, so that's like the prompt, and then it's producing results around it. That's kind of cool. I don't know how you do, I suppose you could use that prompting a little bit, but I wouldn't imagine that on a day-to-day basis. I'd imagine there's be alerts and stuff getting pumped into a scene from this thing. Yeah, that's kind of cool. Doesn't look like there's any pricing. You got to get a demo, access the demo library. The good thing about what that indicates to me, actually, this is interesting, access the demo library. I love to get my hands on when I'm sort of having a look at these things, just fiddle around a little bit. If I did go through that gate, which I'm not going to, I'm going to actually get access to a whole bunch of demos that I don't need to sort of get on a Zoom call or a Teams call with someone to actually step through it. There's going to be self-service demo, which is super good. Cool looking company, huge round, obviously a great value proposition. Next company is a company called Neon, who received 46 million in a Series B. I was not expecting a relational database to pop up in the funding rounds from the last 7 days. This is a packed space. There are lots of both big competitors and high growth competitors, as well as, your hyperscalers getting in on the relational database space over the last few years. So there's a lot going on, but it's a big round. So let's have a little look at Neon and to see what they offer. So I suppose the first thing to talk about is it's all around serverless Postgres. Okay, so this is talking around simplicity, auto scaling and scaling of those resources where you don't have to worry about too much, okay? I've seen that value proposition before, so interesting they've gone down this path. If you look at the, homepage of their website, it's talking about scalability, cost efficient. Okay, so they must be going for a cost benefit to the customer here because, as I said, this is like a fairly saturated space as far as I was aware. Digging into them a little bit, they're sort of jumping on this AI bandwagon, powering next-gen AI apps with Postgres, build and scale transformative LLM applications with vector indexes and similarity search in Postgres. I don't really know this. It's hard enough to understand AI architectures with the vector databases. I'm not sure how a relational database sort of fits in there, but they're going all out on it. Start building AI apps on Neon. Look, interesting company. It's a huge round. Busy space though. So the next one today is a company that I spoke about a few weeks back who raised 200 million in a round. This is CoreWeave. Now, I wouldn't normally talk about a loan or debt financing, but this is $2.3 billion that they've got secured. Now, the reason I've highlighted this again is because these guys are going gangbusters. They are scaling their GPU farms way beyond what the hyperscalers have, and they're in a high growth market. That's a recipe for success or a significant acquisition. Let's see. The next company today is a company called Plerion, who raised $10 million in a seed round. So Plerion looked to be kind of like a Wiz competitor, Aussie company though, so I really want to go into this. Talking about holistic cloud security, so gaining visibility into your cloud estate, agentless as well, which is pretty common in cloud. Let's look at the platform, Cloud Native Application Protection Platform. I love these acronyms. Boom, boom, boom. Heaps of acronyms. Too many. I'm actually starting to get sick and tired of the acronyms in cybersecurity. There's like way too many now. There's like 50 released every month. There seems to be quite a lot here. What I don't understand is like, why don't they offer pricing? Why can't they offer pricing? These companies should be going with a product-led growth strategy. Let me try it out on a few AWS accounts. Let me see if I like it. Anyway, good on them. This is a great space for an Aussie company. I love seeing this type of tech that usually comes out of Silicon Valley. Okay, with the next three companies, we're going to move through them pretty quickly. The first company is a company called Cyble, who does threat intelligence. They received $24 million in a Series B. So looking at Cyble's value prop, it kind of does a whole bunch of stuff with cool names like Cyble Vision and Cyble Hawk and Cyble Odin, all doing different things. I probably would have liked this all to come together. I think they can simplify this easier. It's a little bit, do I need to buy that? What do I buy that? Don't I get this with that? Just simplify it. Help me as a buyer simplify this. Next company is Tromzo, who received $8 million in a seed round. And again, this is a company that talks about that software supply chain security. So looking at the security of all the software that you use to buy or build or whatever you do in your organization, looking at all the security compliance of those, it's really important. The last one today is a company called Lightup, who received $9 million in a seed round. Now, looking at their product, this is kind of a cool product. It talks about data quality and ensuring your data quality across your enterprise. It uses AI to do that, so it needs time, I suppose, to understand what the system is expecting from your data so that it can look through that data and then find anomalies or errors or poor data, whatever that may look like. Looks to be a fairly SaaS-y product, which is cool. Partners love it. Pricing, it fools me to say that it's going to start giving me pricing, but it doesn't. It just tells me there's different tiers and I got to request the quote. But there is a free trial. I like that. Anyway, it's been a super busy week on the funding, some really interesting tech and a lot of money going in interesting places. Let's have a look next week on what funding world will bring. Cheers.